Through scope. Appreciate everybody. It's been rocking with the channel support. Hit that subscribe button for me, man. Appreciate everybody. It's been rocking with us today. I had to turn the mic on today, man. I had to. Stephen A, man. I don't know if y'all seen his response to LeBron's comments, or I don't even know if y'all seen LeBron's comments last night about, why players don't want to be the face of the league. If you didn't hear, here go a soundbite.
Say he don't want it.
I know.
Yeah, he ain't trying to deal with that shit.
Yeah.
And Channing Frye said it the other day too. Like, it's unfortunate, but like, I don't know. Why do you want to be the face of a league when all the people that that cover our game and talk about our game on a day-to-day basis shit on everybody?
So y'all hear what LeBron just said, right? Now here goes Stephen A. response.
That's some BS. I'm going to call it, like I said, this is some straight BS. I'm not saying everything that he said was BS, because I understand there's an enormous amount of pressure that gets elevated, fellas, when it comes to being the face of the league. I understand that, but I don't appreciate what he said. I really, really don't. And listen, let's understand what the backdrop of all of this is. This is fresh off of All-Star Weekend, an All-Star Weekend that LeBron James elected to show up for and not participate in. Don't get me started with his 22 years in the league and how he ruined the slam dunk contest because he's the star. He's the first superstar that played above the rim that decided not to participate in the slam dunk contest. Don't get me started with him showing up at All-Star Weekend on a Sunday afternoon, notifying the NBA an hour beforehand that he wasn't going to play, so they didn't have time to sit up there and get a replacement for him, and then he showed up out there with street clothes on. Don't get me started with all of that. There's an abundance of things that have been going on throughout the career of LeBron James in this league or whatever. I'd like to remind LeBron James, first of all, there's a whole bunch of people that cover the league. They're former players. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, they're former players. They're not just reporters. They're former players, former big-time players, former Hall of Fame players. They talk about the league, too, and it's reminiscent of what I said about Kevin Durant when I talked about, can anybody talk about y'all? Is everything negative? I want to say this, too. There's a narrative that goes around these days. And, Wendy, this is out of your lane right here. This is out of your lane right here. Where if you're a brother and you're talking about brothers, oh, you just hating on brothers. You know what it says, like black on black crime. Well, if a brother busts your ass and you happen to be a brother that got your ass busted, then how is it that you're praising the brother that gave it to you and you're highlighting the brother that got it given to them? That's what you're doing. But people don't bring this kind of stuff up. There's so much stuff that you can point to when you look at LeBron James. You can talk to the decision, okay? Self-aggrandizement at its height. What happened there? He has a 75-minute show, The Decision, to announce and surprise the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers that I'm leaving you. He had to find out on national television with the rest of America. What did I say after that, Wendy? If you remember, Gilbert, what did I say after that? I talked about how you handle stuff matters because the owners are going to come. What did they do? They came with a collective bargaining negotiation. They stripped basketball-related income by 7%, costing the league about $2 billion, okay? They pointed that stuff out. You had a Chris Paul trade that was going to Los Angeles for the Lakers. Dan Gilbert is the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers and rallied the owners to go against the trade, so Commissioner David Stern could nix it. Why? Because he was salty about how LeBron James handled it and how stars were getting out of control. What are we seeing over the last several years? No matter what, we sit up there and it doesn't matter. We can sit up there and say something smells like perfume. They'll accuse us of saying it's passing gas. No matter what we say about these players, there's always something for them to complain about. And I'm not saying that there aren't justifiable situations of playing you should be able to clap back. But everything. And then when he talks about people covering the league, we know he talks about people like me. Damn it, I'm going to say it. I'm going to be cocky enough to say I'm one of the people he alluded to. That's nonsense. I challenge anybody to show somebody that loves the NBA and supports the NBA more than me. You got NFL stuff going on. I can talk about the NFL 24/7. What other show you see on national television talking about the NBA more than me outside of NBA TV? Nobody. Players. Former players, current players, always welcome, no problem. And you look at it, and he's not just talking about people like me. He talked about inside the NBA. He didn't say their names. We know who you alluded to. Charles Barkley is an all-time NBA great. Top 75 player, Hall of Famer. You get at him. Kenny Smith, who celebrates the game more than Kenny Smith? Shaquille O'Neal's a 4-time champion. The Diesel, the big Aristotle.
So here's my issue with what Stephen A. does, and I have a bigger point in this whole thing, too, as well. Stephen A. is so upset. Y'all can hear in how upset he is because he is the main contributor. He is what LeBron is talking about. Him and some other, of his contemporaries as well. But Stephen A is one of the main people that he is talking about. Narrative driven negativity is all he spews out. Think about it. Anytime y'all hear Stephen A talk about 3 players, I'm gonna give y'all LeBron, KD, and Kyrie. Anytime he brings up, or before he gets to the greatness of KD, he says it a million times about how he left and went to Golden State and lost to the team that beats him. Even if we talking about something that got nothing to do with, that, like KD could break a scoring record. He's like, yeah, man, Kevin Durant is great, even though he made the weakest move in all history of time. He still is a great scorer. Like, every time he brings up his name, he needs to mention about how he left and went to Golden State. We already know. We beat that into the ground already. Anytime he brings up LeBron, he got to bring up anything negative throughout his career. He'll bring up him not being in a dunk contest when they talking about something that is irrelevant to that. It might be, him hitting the game-winning shot. He's like, LeBron is great, man. He hit that game-winning shot. It was a beautiful shot, even though I'm mad at him for not doing a dunk contest. Like, anytime he speaks about some of these players here, we're not even going to get into the personal attack he went on with Kyrie. Whether you feel about the COVID situation or not, this man went on a personal campaign to attack him anytime he could. And when he got called out by Jay Williams, he wanted to get personal back. And then he admitted about a year later that he had an issue because Kyrie's dad said something to him and he took it out on Kyrie. A lot of Stephen A's commentary is personal. When he doesn't like a player or he gets upset that a player challenged him or disagrees with something he says, especially if they call him out publicly, he cannot objectively cover the player anymore. He cannot. Like, anytime he gets mad about narratives in the base that get created about Jordan and LeBron, when he is the main culprit of it. ESPN First Take talks about it more than anybody. So why do you get frustrated when people might feel different, or where LeBron might feel different, or other people, and come at you and debate you for that? Like, why? You talk about how much it's not a conversation when you make it a conversation. Like, Stephen A, you are the main culprit of a lot of things you complain about. And one of the things he spoke about, he was saying how the way LeBron attacked people that cover the day-to-day game is not fair because he groups them all together, and there's former players that cover it, whatever, it's people that cover it. He's right. There's a variety of people that cover the game. But when he messed up is he started naming some people that he thought covered the game well, which really don't. He named Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley is a legend. One of the greatest players to ever play the game. Charles Barkley, knows nothing about the inner details of what the game is today. I'm sorry, I'm not going to say nothing. 25%. If you ask him about the third best player on the team, he don't know. If you ask them about schemes, he don't know. If you ask them about anything that's going on in the middle of the season or beginning, about a coach or whatever, he does not know. He don't even know the rules. This man, he don't even know the rules of the game. This man talk about the Lakers and said, if they they're lucky that the play-in exists, because if not, they'll be screwed. The last 2 years, the Lakers had a 7th seed. They actually got their seed jeopardized because of the play-in. And this is one of many examples. These guys do not know what they talking about, man. And I could bring up Laker examples because he's that's the new target for him right now. But he said the Lakers was trash the last 2 to 3 years. They almost won 50 games last year. They almost had like a top 5 seed. These guys they let their personal feelings get in the way. He brought up Shaq. All Shaq does is diss people that's playing currently. If you a big man, you might as well forget it. Shaq is going to throw shots at you. That's what they do. That's what these guys, these are the people he's naming as if like these are people that cover the game objectively. Shaq don't even be knowing what he be talking about. The only person that consistently knows what they're talking about is Kenny Smith. And everybody knows it. Them same fans that you want to allude to that complain about the game and that are on your side about how negative the game is, they're the same ones that complain about these guys that you mentioned and saying they don't know the game currently. They know a version of the game from the past, but they don't know the details. That show is purely entertainment. I don't know why you named them as if you were making a point. And yes, there is, to LeBron's point, there's a lot of people that negatively cover the game, right? We agree with that. And some of it is justified, right? You brought up the All-Star game and how LeBron doesn't take accountability for how he messed up the from not playing an All-Star game, letting the NBA know maybe an hour before, and that could have went to another spot. Let's take that in context. Yes, LeBron should have let them know. I think it was corny he didn't let them know. It could have been a younger guy or whatever that could have played, and they were robbed of the opportunity. But you was going to complain about the All-Star game anyway. LeBron played in the last 12 of them, and you complained about it. So I'm not going to sit here and act like if he played, it would have changed your response to it at all. Him not playing or playing didn't change anything. It didn't change. Y'all would have still complained because that's what y'all been doing the past 10, 11 years. And I'm not saying it's unjustly. I'm just saying, no, let's not act like that was such a big point for you that he, you know what I'm saying? And then you talk about him ruining the dunk contest. If y'all look at the participants of the dunk contest, matter of fact, before I get into that, you talking about him ruining the dunk contest. You disrespect every player. You basically say every player in the league is a sheep and LeBron is their daddy. That's all you basically saying. Because if this grown man cannot do something and everybody follows 20 years later, all the years he been in the league, 22 years, and nobody wants to do it because LeBron made a choice 20 some years ago not to participate, then you saying all these guys are followers, all these guys are chump, and LeBron tells them what to do. And none of these guys are their own men. Not one person is responsible for nobody else joining. Because when LeBron was in the league, it was a lot of stars that still didn't do it. Even before LeBron was a contestant, before he even pump faked and told us that he was going to do it and didn't do it, there was other stars in the league that still didn't do it. And then after him, it was still people that still didn't do it. Guys that you revere as being tough and all types of stuff, they still didn't do it. A man could ruin the dunk contest maybe for a year or two, but he can't ruin it for 20 years, bro. These are grown men at the end of the day. If they want to do it, they will do it. There's no way you telling me, oh, Brian ain't do it, I ain't got to do it. Now, it's probably some influence there. I could say there's some influence there. Some guys probably are like, LeBron didn't do it, I'm not going to do it or whatever. I don't even think that's the case, man. These guys do so many things that LeBron don't do. So the dunk contest is the one they'll follow. All the other stuff that they do that he don't do, the dunk contest is, what is it? I don't know, man, Stephen A. I just feel like you take personal attacks at guys you don't. I think because it came out of LeBron's mouth, that is your main issue. That is the main issue. It came out of LeBron's mouth. You have had issues with him for a while. We're going to get into it today. We're going to get into it. This is, I don't know, it's because he hasn't sat down with you. I don't know what the issue is, but Brian Windhorst, who sat next to you today, along with Gilbert Arenas, shout out to Gil for getting on First Take, he said that his contemporaries have lost the art of covering the game. He said this months ago. And I've said this in videos. I'm going to say it again. He said that they have lost the art of covering the game. They want to focus on headlines and clickbait instead of telling stories. The man that sat right next to you today said that. You did not challenge him, and he did not even state his point again. But he basically agreed. The people that's standing right next to you agreed. You felt attacked because they are talking about you, man. This is why players don't want to sit and talk with you, and this is why they say the things they say about you. You are one of the deterrents to the game. You are one of the negative media people in the game. You are one of the negatives that come with the game of basketball today, man. You are, bro. And for some reason, you have this issue. You talk about the standard that the older players set, and that's what you're holding the new guys to. You can't hold the guys to an old standard when the game has changed and life has changed so much. You mentioned it today that social media is a big difference, and that's why some of the things are covered different ways. Okay, then, so how you gonna hold guys to a standard in the 80s and 90s who didn't have to deal with that to guys now that their whole life revolves around it? Their marketing, their likeness, their brand revolves around social media. So the standard can't still be the standard. It has to be new standards depending on the decade and the era. Because those guys didn't have to compete with the same things. They didn't have the same obstacles, for good or worse. Like, they don't have the same situations. every player's arc is different as well. You could come and be like a Tatum, where you come into a team that's already good or has good ownership to build the foundation, so you make the playoffs your first 6-7 years. Or you come in a team like LeBron, where you have the Cavs, who didn't do anything, didn't get him any help or anything like that. Or a team like AI. The Sixers didn't give AI much help. You cannot, this standard that you try to set changes with the eras, man. The gameplay, the style, everything is different. Get rid of your old standard. You said you use the older players that come at you about the standard, said hold these guys to it. It's older players telling you that. I mean, they come from different standards, man. Put a microphone in front of them. I guarantee you they have nothing but negative things to say about what's going on today. They always do. That's in every field almost. Music, the same thing. It's just like they like an older way and how things were done in their era, because that's the era they grew up in. I mean, that's just life. That's just life. I got another video coming up after this. Well, we're going to get into why I think Stephen A. is the new Skip Bayless for LeBron. I honestly think that. One last thing I want to get into, man, because of what you said, too. The players don't be saying you hating on them when you say anything negative about them. Most of the players don't even talk to you, bro. They make this broad statement, and you're always the first one to die on the sword and take it personally. Anytime KD makes a statement on social media, you the first one to jump out and take it like he talking about you. He probably is. But it's telling that you're the one that always jumps up and speaks out. Nobody else does it but you. You feel personally attacked because you know all these players are talking about you. And you didn't stop talking trash about KD till his mom checked you, which tells me it was nothing but personal. Because how can you have this stern way that you communicate about KD for the past 10 years, his mom check you, and then all that changes, and now you got nothing but great things to say. KD's a top 10 player all time. This man is great. I'm going to just shut up. Should have said that before. After you got your point across about him jumping teams, you should have said that before. Like, that's my issue. That's my issue with Stephen A., man. Black brother who ascended to and broke barriers. I'm always going to salute that, man. I'm always going to salute that. That's amazing for people of, our color to be in that position, to run a network, be the face of the network. That's great. That's great. I'm not even going to understate it. I'm not even going to breeze by it. I'm going to actually let that sit a little bit. But when you start using these situations here where, I don't know, man, I really feel like the issue is with LeBron, man. I really feel like that, man, because you brought about how it's hating that people call LeBron number 2, and people feel like he's insulted by that in his camp. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? Rich Paul told you that. Every time you call Mike number 1, LeBron does not tweet you. He does not go on. He doesn't say anything to you about it. You say it every day. He don't go and respond to you every day. Rich Paul and you had a conversation, and Rich Paul felt offended that he wasn't number 1. Who cares? Why is that even a point for you to make? You say everybody in this camp feel like we hating on him. Like who? What? Fam, you had one conversation with Rich Paul, and he said that he felt like LeBron should be 1. Okay. Most great players, they feel like they're the best. Like certain players, when they say they're the GOAT, they feel like they're the GOAT. You put a mic in front of Floyd Mayweather, he's going to feel the same thing. And he's going to say the same thing to you. That's how certain guys, feel about it. And what Gil said, you got this Jordan cloud that if you ain't perfect, you can't come up and be number 1. So it's like, that's what they feel. But you act like these guys come at you every time you say he number 2 or he number 3, 4. Like, they don't say nothing to you. Why you get so bothered by what people in his camp say to you, or why you get bothered by his response? He ain't even talking to you. He ain't even directly say your name. Why can't your contemporaries cover it differently, but you always cover it personally? Woodenhorse didn't take it that way. Some other guy on ESPN was there. He didn't take it that way. Rudy Gay's a former player, so I guess I'm gonna count him in the media. But you take people that already have issues with LeBron, take things a certain way when he says it. But look out for part 2, y'all. I'm gonna give you some reasons why I feel like he's trying to be the new Skip Bayless for LeBron. This is Through the Scope. This is Queese. I'm out.